great pleasure for me to introduce Steph Grant and Jenny Martin. As I say, Steph is a long friend of Social Work England, and they're going to be presenting the session of learning from those who live inside the barrels of exclusion. So I'm going to hand right over to you, Steph, to kick us off.
Thank you. Right, thank you everybody for coming. I'm not going to say too much about myself right now because I'm going to be talking a little bit later. Just to say that I'm Steph Grant and I live with a traumatic brain injury that I sustained in a road traffic accident in 1985. I'll hand you over to my colleague now, Jenny.
Hello, I'm Jenny Martin, and I'm very pleased to be invited to talk to you today. I'm sorry you're not going to be able to see me. Well, part of me is sorry that you're not going to be able to see me. I don't seem to be able to work out if it's anything to do with my computer, or maybe it's often something to do with Teams, that as a guest we aren't always able to access all the functions. Anyway, a bit about my background. I'm a retired hospital pharmacist, and I worked for almost 40 years in cancer care. But in 2012, I was urgently admitted to the hospital with what they initially thought was a stroke. It turned out to actually be a meningioma, a benign brain tumour. My symptoms were I couldn't speak coherently and I got a blinding headache. So a little while later, I had surgery to remove the tumour and I recovered very well. My inability to remember words and changes to sleep pattern were my main problems, and still are to a certain extent. But I was one of the lucky ones because I was referred to the Sheffield Brain Injuries Rehabilitation Service, and there they helped me to get back to my normal life, getting my driving licence back, which was a real big problem, which you lose, of course, when you've had brain surgery. And I went back to work. At the time I was part-time pharmacist for the Cancer Network, and I play in a band, play clarinet in a band, and I'm part of a drama group and do lots of other activities. And at the end of that year, I was pretty much back to normal. But please note, I'm reading this to you, as I might not be able to find the right words to speak spontaneously to you today. I still do sometimes lose words. Very often I can talk round it, but not always. So as the rehab service likes to involve ex-service users, I and my husband, who was my carer at the time, we were invited to participate in various roles, and I joined HERG in 2016. Now, my job had included work with cancer research, drug clinical trials, and I'd sat on the Sheffield Research Ethics Committee for several years. So that group particularly interested me, and it's been a fantastic experience, and I've met many people and hopefully managed to raise the awareness of brain injury and its consequences. So that's me, and I'll pass you back to Steph, and he can tell you a little bit about the history of HERG, our Head Injury and Homelessness Research Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Can we see the next slide then now, please? Can we move to the next slide? The history of HERG, who we are.
It's a couple further on, I think.
Another one, please. So, who are HERG? Who are the Head Injury and Homelessness Research Group? Well, we had an explosive year in 2016, I suppose. We did a lot, but really we started before then. We started as a previous research partnership, the Brain Injury Rehabilitation Research Partnership, and that's where we derived our methodology from, our cutting-edge methodology that's based in a framework of co-production, but it's led by survivors of brain injury. From that, we developed some brain injury awareness training. And while doing that, in about 2013, we became aware of a couple of quantitative research studies that had been done in Leeds and Toronto. And they showed that around 50% of the homeless population in those cities had sustained a traumatic brain injury, and most of them prior to becoming homeless. So we wanted to know why this was. So we formed the Head Injury and Homelessness Research Group with survivors of brain injury and homelessness, with expert clinicians, with people from the council, with academics, and we conducted a study, a qualitative study into why people become homeless who have sustained a brain injury, and that was published in 2016, an output of the Sheffield Hallam University. although we gained our ethics approval from University of Sheffield, and we received a small amount of funding from University of Sheffield, and we launched it at the University of Liverpool, so a real co-production event. We also in 2016 had some medical students working with us for a month from the University of Sheffield Medical School, and we also produced a video which you'll see later, Not My First Rodeo, and this is one of the transcripts. It's a sort of dramatisation of filming of one of the transcripts. All the words that you'll hear will be exactly the words taken from one of the transcripts, and we entered this into the United Kingdom Acquired Brain Injury Forum Short Film Awards in 2016 and got a runner-up award. Since then, since 2016, in 2018, I guess, we joined the Your Party Parliamentary Group on acquired brain injury, and we're sort of affiliated with them, have done films with them, and are in their campaign to increase access to specialist neurological rehabilitation services. And in 2019, we put on a big event with lots of brain injured people at the University of Sheffield, the Brain Injury Unplugged. Since then, 2020, well, we got the pandemic, and we've been getting to grips with this virtual world, which has proved its difficulties. So, you can skip on to slide 2 now and beyond there, actually. Do you get that? Can you hear me? You can, all right, yep. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about my story now, because I guess this is really sort of where it all starts from. I said earlier that I had a road traffic accident and sustained a brain injury in 1985. Some people died in that crash, and my wife died some time later. Moved up to where I was down at the Reading University at the time, and I weren't very well. I couldn't look after my kid, and social services wanted me, how are you going to look after your kid? Moved up to Scotland to be with my parents, to help me look after my boy. All sorts of things happen, all sorts of terrible things. The long and short of it is, and what I want to talk to you about today is, I ended up living in a place that it was my place. I'd married again a woman who had 3 children to a previous marriage. We had one between us. We had my little boy. We had 5 children. We lived in a big house. There were lots of lodgers. We had people coming in and out. People that had been homeless. People coming from prison, come stay in our house. We weren't doing very well at all, and largely that was because of me. I weren't able to sign on in most places. I had to claim sickness benefits. I weren't very good at that because I couldn't remember things. I couldn't cope. I had no rehabilitation treatment at this time because I'd moved up and down the country from north of England down to south of England, and then up to Scotland, and then back down into north of England again. And I was at Sheffield, and I really wasn't very well. And I'm at this time in mid-1990s, and I'm taking some cannabis, some hot knives with a friend of mine who's a Somali guy, and he was actually a boy soldier. He was in the papers a lot, national papers. He'd been a boy soldier, and he murdered some people in this country, eventually got deported, but But so I'm taking drugs with him, and I'm drinking super lager, and a woman comes to the door. She's a social worker, and my wife's on the floor crying at her feet. I told this woman while I'm taking drugs and drinking alcohol with my pal, I told her to fuck off. I said, you shouldn't be coming onto an estate like this. This is a rough estate, and you shouldn't be coming to an house like this because this is a particularly rough house. And it was rough also. Well, anyway, she said, I'm not going to go till you come with me. Then at one point, my pal says to me, because she's still there like half an hour later, my pal says to me, Steph, you have a bad head like me. These people want to fix your head. You should go away with them. And that sort of got to me that day, because I knew I had a bad head. My wife had told me, this is your last chance. We're finished, right? Away I went with her, took me to the brain injury assessment unit. and the rest is history, really. And she sort of saved my life. And so, I mean, what I told that particular part of my story because it says about the interaction I had with the social services, and I'm aware that social services aren't really allowed to do that sort of thing now, to go into such dangerous places because of the risk that uh, that they pose to themselves. So I just want to leave you with that now and pass you over to Jenny again to introduce the videos, if I can, please.
Thanks, Steph. You remember that Steph referred to a paper that was published, Experience of Brain Injury and Homelessness, and that was the result of some interviews that Steph and some other people, they did some interviews with some clients at Ben Centre, which is a sort of refuge centre in Sheffield. And this dialogue is based on one of the transcripts, which was actually much, much longer. And it demonstrates some of the problems and issues that are highlighted from those interviews. There's actually large chunks are actually word for word from the actual transcript. And can you please note that it does actually have some strong language? There was much more which we've actually taken out, but we needed to include some that would actually demonstrate the tone of the transcript itself. And after that, we're going to see Not My First Rodeo, which was again the video that Steph's referred to. And following that, Steph and I are both happy to answer any comments or any questions that you might want to put to us via the chat function. So if you could please play the first video, the dialogue one.
Thanks, Jenny. That's great. Now, this is where I'm filled with terror because this is the first time I've shared a little video. So please bear with me. I really hope it's going to work. So I'll put on the sound and click.
This is actually when you'll see me, I'm afraid.
So how can you see, Jenny?
No, I can't see anything yet.
Can you? Right. Well, I'll just do it again.
I don't know if the rest of the participants can.
No, hold on.
Nothing
I don't think so. Yeah, I think this will be it. What do you think?
Yes, that's the start.
Excellent.
Thank you. That's me.
Can you hear?
We haven't started.
Yes, can you hear it?
No sound coming.
Yeah,
No.
right, sorry. What I did was yeah, I knew this was never going to be easy, but anyway.
Just stop sharing it and then go again with the
Yeah, it's fine. I know what I'm doing now. It's clicking that little thing, volume, isn't it? Right, here we go. Go back to the beginning.
Glad to meet you, Sam. My name's Sally, and I understand you're happy to talk to me about your present situation.
Yeah, that's right.
So, do you consider yourself to be homeless at the moment?
I am, yeah.
Right, and you've reported that you've had a brain injury. Can we talk about that for a little while, and then we'll come back to the homelessness, okay?
Well, I was first hit round the head with a hammer about 20 years ago.
And what were the effects of that? Were you unconscious, and did you go to hospital?
Well, so there's these 6 blokes that put me down. I was standing up to them and just calling them mad bastards, just whacking me because I was saying, you mad bastards, you know what I mean? Just give me another whack. And it was like 6 times. All gone.
So were you unconscious?
Not unconscious, but well, they put me down, and I got up, staggered out with my head pissing with blood and that.
And did you have any medical treatment for that?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And what kind of treatment was it?
Not much really, just like...
You went to hospital?
Yeah, I went to hospital, yeah.
And what did they do for you?
I think that time, because I've had like a few head injuries where I've found myself in hospital. I mean, about 4 or 5.
And did you stay in overnight?
I ended up, yeah, I was there for a couple of days. They tried sending me out next day, and I ended up...
So that was 20 years ago, and it sounds terrible, being hit with a hammer by loads of lads. Now, do you mind me asking, had you ever had any difficulties with holding on to your home or anything before that injury? I mean, I know it's thinking back, it's a long way back.
Well, like you say, I've always had difficulty after.
Difficulty after that, okay?
Anyway, funny you should ask that question, because I've got so much anger inside me. I feel like.
And have you ever had or been referred for any specialist treatment at all?
No.
No rehabilitation or anything like that?
No. All I get is jail. Because I'll go in shops. If I want something, I'll go and take it. If I want something to eat, I'll take it. If I want a drink, I'll take it. You know what I mean? And jail's been owed to me. I'm trying to keep out of jail right now. Been out 6 months and I'm doing well.
There's a lot of people with brain injury in jail, and there's a lot of people homeless with a brain injury as well. So that's why we're sort of doing this research.
Yeah. Like, my family don't understand. They don't understand. They just think, oh, he's a mad alcoholic. He's not. I'm not. I've changed. I mean, like, yeah, I've been on heroin and crack, and it's well, it's like a comfort thing to make me feel that. Oh God, sorry, I had to open up.
Are you okay for us to keep on asking, or would you like us to back off a bit? Do you mind me asking, what do you think that head injury did to you? What effects does it have on you?
It's given me a lot of anger.
So there's the anger.
A lot of people don't understand it, you know.
Right.
And it's like, if you see different people, you can see them jolly and everything. But then, like, if someone upsets you, you get so angry that you fight fucking anybody, you know.
And this has happened a lot, getting into fights and stuff then since this last 20 years.
Yeah, but do you know what I do? You know what I've done?
No.
I've gone and like picked fights and let people hit me, kick me, punch me. I've been kicked and punched to fuck, you know. I don't care, they can't hurt me. You can't hurt me.
It sounds like you're almost punishing yourself when you do that. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say that's what you do.
No, say what you want. You get me?
So your anger really got worse after that head injury?
Yeah.
Sounds like life's pretty tough.
Yeah. In 3 words, do you know what? Do you know how I describe myself in 3 words?
Go on.
A scavenging, junkified alcoholic.
Right.
Because I'll fucking do anything to get fucking by.
Yeah. And has that become since that injury, or was that a bit of you before?
Maybe, but no. I think maybe it was. Now I come to think of it.
And do you mind me asking, because after what you were saying, you would go and pick fights and let people hit you.
Yeah.
I'm guessing a lot of those fights, you'd have had bangs to the head, won't you?
Yeah, come on. I've had more kicks, punches. Once in flat, there were 4 of them, right? And they all fucking kicked and punched fuck out of me, right? That's more kicks and punches, right? Must have gone on for about, I don't know. And I just stood up. And as I was walking out, wow, bottle over there, you know what I mean?
And do you get any help from social services at all?
No, not really. They just see me as alcoholic.
Yeah?
They see me. I've never spoken to anybody about this. I haven't spoken to anybody. They're not. Nobody takes any notice if you have a head injury. They see physical things. I've even thought about, shall I chop one of my legs off? Then they can see I'm injured, right? I've even thought about doing that. I've even stabbed myself with a bottle because you can see the injury. You can't see this.
You're absolutely right. The thing is, with a head injury, everyone looks the same after it, don't they? There's no difference in what you look like by and large.
I've lived in the wild, I've lived everywhere. I don't give a monkey's where I live.
You can't tell by just looking, can you?
Yeah, you can't.
Did you ever get benefits advisors or some sort of support workers to help you fill in claims forms?
Do you know, honestly, right? They used to help me in jail with like, I've had no help at all last few times. When I came out, I had nowhere to live, no money. I mean, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do?
So you do what you do, which is survive.
Yeah.
Just do what you can.
Yeah.
So you've done some spells in prison, that's right. From what you said, it sounds like there's been quite a few of them. No judgment on that at all. I'm just thinking to myself, if you were in prison, and I've never been inside myself, so I don't know what it's like, but I take it that you don't get easy access to alcohol when you're in a place.
Oh, no.
All right, so when you're in there for a decent length of time, did anyone pick up the problems of your head injury in there at all?
No.
No, no one was interested?
Not at all.
Okay, right.
They just look at you. Alcohol, alcohol, it's just alcohol or drugs. They don't look at head injuries.
None of them, okay. So, you know when you were in prison, I'm just thinking, if you weren't taking alcohol while you were there, did you notice any changes about how you think and remember things?
Yeah, well, you do change. Your head does change, it does. You see things differently. Your mind becomes clearer. You have a routine. You don't have to make any decisions. But I've also got my sense of humour. I think that's got me through as well. I can get on with anybody. I can make anybody laugh, no matter where I am, you know. I don't give a monkey's arsehole. I don't care.
You've said that a couple of times now, I don't care.
Oh, sorry.
No, hey, it's all right, it's no criticism for it. It's just kind of interesting as an attitude to life, isn't it? Go on, it doesn't matter, I don't care what you think. It's an attitude of life, and that's your attitude to life. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if things were ideal, what could services do differently? You know, if they could see what being on the head hit on the head has done to you, what do you think? Totally make it up, what do you think?
Right, yeah. You see, I can't get a decent place to live in, and I'll never get sorted out without somewhere decent to live. They give me these shitty places, you know, like to live in Pittsmore or wherever, and then fuck off. Poxy little rooms full of knobheads. I'll never sort myself out like that. How the fuck can I? Invite me family over? Oh, aye. Come over. How can I get back right with me family if I go there? You know what I mean? And there's no chance of me getting fucking work.
So good housing, somewhere where you can have some space.
Yeah, yeah.
To get your head together.
Yes.
It's really important.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I know I could sort myself out if they got me a decent place to live at. And I could invite my family and I'd be better off in jail than, you know.
Yeah, but of course you're not all right when you're in jail, are you? You've still got your head injury, and you're going to come out again, and you're still going to have your head injury.
You can't put a plaster over it though, can you?
You can't.
Amazing, Jenny and Steph. What a very powerful and moving clip. Steph and Jenny have just put you on mute. So if you want to unmute yourself, and I will endeavour to get the next video up. Is that okay?
Yep.
And just to remind everybody, can you just make sure that your camera's off? I think we've got two people. Anita, could you maybe just check your camera? It's just sort of a little bit distracting. That would be great. Thank you very much. And I will do my best to get the next one up. Okay.
Steph, did you want to say anything about this video?
Okay, so this is the video I mentioned earlier, not my first rodeo. It's a co-production event. I'll let it start.
Oh, is it up?
Yeah, working, Catherine.
Oh, wow. I'm getting good at this. Hey, right. Ooh, I'm excited.
I've got no sound there, Catherine. I don't know if that's missing something. Do you want to take it off and then reshare?
Yeah, I'll
if that works?
reshare. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I wondered why Natalie had stopped speaking. So, right, sorry about that. I'm not as good as I thought. Right, just bear with me, and I'll just rewind it because we're not very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no, I forgot the sound. Oh, no, here we are, sound again. Great. Lovely. Can you see it?
See it, yeah.
Yeah, right. Hopefully that'll work.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Do I currently consider myself to be homeless? I am. I am homeless. Ain't no two ways about that. So I sleep under this, like, canopy. It's like some building work's not been finished. So I just stay there. Put a couple of sleeping bags. It's out of rain. Do what you can. You know what I mean? I was caught in it and run. Had some pressure on my brain. Had to have an operation. Keyhole surgery. Can't remember how long I were in hospital. No. Can't remember out now. My memory's crap from now on. It's changed my life for good. I'm not gonna lie to you. Big part of my life's just gone. In hospital, I were actually released after 6 hours. They thought they were now up with me. And then I started being violent to the point where I could talk to nobody. They were annoying me, you know. They were trying to having a laugh with me. And they were really, save my language, peeing me off. I get constant headaches still. I'm on medication. It's not over yet. I know I'm not out of woods fully. And I forget. Can't remember most of my childhood. Can't remember my kids growing up. Can't remember my dad. And after surgery, I was just released. Just back home onto the street. I was supposed to see a social worker, but they never came. I take myself away from everyone nowadays. Aye. Don't see me around half as much as I used to. Maybe a good thing, I don't know. Because I'm scared to death of getting into a brawl or being in wrong place at wrong time. You know what I mean? Because I've also got a broken jaw as well. That was my first time in hospital. First time I went in with a broken jaw. That was from getting smacked from behind. Cracked from behind. Somebody snapped my jaw. Face is a right chuffing mess. It's not my first rodeo, you could say. Know what I mean? Listen though, I'll get through it. You know, I'll get through it. It's been nice to just talk though. Like, just talk about it. Thanks a lot.
Honestly. God bless you. You're angels.
Well, I don't know about you, but I find that quite shocking and moving at the same time. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of conversation at the end, and I'll just move us back on to the presentation. Is that okay, Steph?
Yes, good, please.
Okay.
I think could we perhaps go to the last slide, actually?
Mm-hmm.
And
This one?
yeah, that's okay, because the other one just says dialogue and discussion, and that's what we're going to do now, if we can. And I just want to, I think Matthew's fielded some questions for us, and I think what I want people to think about, the sorts of things, is how are these people presenting to us? And I mean my story in that as well, really. And what does it tell us about the world? These stories, what are the stories that are being told? So have we got any questions or comments, anything for me and Jenny? Reactions?
There's a few reactions in the chat, Steph, and all very similar in the sense that those videos are very powerful and very moving, and people have obviously been touched by them, which I think I don't think there's anyone here today that hasn't been the case for. But we can open it up for questions. People can put their hand up, and we can bring people in if they want to make comments. Now's the time to do that. Just raise your hand at the top of your screen, and we can invite you to unmute.
I mean, yeah, I think I'll kick off in just it was sort of some of those statistics, Steph and Jenny.
Yeah.
Absolutely, so shocking in terms of homelessness and how it's correlated with head injury, and the fact that it's not just one country. It's in several different countries, and I just, I mean, it's not really so much a question as an observation, and I had never really thought about that correlation before.
I think that's a quite common reaction to hearing about those statistics and seeing presentations like this, because it's not just that people aren't aware of the statistics. It's also that it is uncomfortable to think, how can such a thing go unmissed, be invisible? So there are a lot of people in prison, as was mentioned in one of the videos, with head injuries, and that's missed. Jenny, my colleague, has a particular interest in women with brain injuries and the invisibility going on there. What's happening? So yeah, I think they're common. That's a common reaction, that the figures are distressing, and the material is a little distressing too.
Can I just add? You'll have heard from my story. I think it just demonstrates the disparity in the attention that people get. I'm a middle class person. I had need of support, and I got support. But there's a lot of the people that are, the homeless people and people that are not middle class like me, they don't get it. And in a way, I feel lucky, but at the same time, it's focused my attention on what could happen if I wasn't in the situation I'm in now. So I think the fact that Steph and I present together shows the two opposites of what's available. And you'll notice now I'm not reading, so my speech isn't as good.
Thanks, Jenny. Nick, you have your hand up. Do you want to ask a question?
Hello.
Hi.
First of all, thank you to Jenny and Steph for sharing your experiences. Steph, I was just interested to ask, you described the time that you actually did get up and go away with the social worker, and that sort of started to open doors for you. I just wondered if you could describe a bit of, what the doors that were opened, what sort of tests happened, or a bit of that.
Yeah, sure. Well, to start off with, we're very lucky in Sheffield, as Jenny said, because we have the Sheffield Community Brain Injury Rehabilitation Team there. We've also got great acute neurology services and great services at the Northern General at Osborne 4 too. And that's where I was taken to, Osborne 4. That's the Head Injury Assessment Centre. And that's before you go for community rehabilitation team. And I'd sort of gone there so that they could assess the extent of my brain damage and how far it was. And I was a little bit of a not typical case because I was so long. I was like about 9 years since my accident because I'd moved up and down the country from north of England to south, up to Scotland, and then back down to Doncaster, where I'm originally from. And I think it was the charity Headway that actually helped me get a place in Sheffield so that I could be near the rehabilitation team in Sheffield. And well, I'm real glad. I guess there was lots of psychometric testing and all sorts of testing going on that they put me through. And it was really, really great, of course. It was residential treatment for a good few weeks. And then I went to the rehabilitation centre. And I realised I wasn't mad, and I started to be able to sort of control and have gain some sort of control over my life and be able to pay me bills and to be able to organise things again. When I'd been a clever chap before my brain injury, but then all of a sudden I couldn't even sign on. I couldn't go to the shops and all sorts of difficulties. So they give me lots of strategies that were very helpful. But I'm lucky, and as Jenny says, we're lucky because we're in Sheffield and those services aren't widely available. And also, so brain injury gets missed a lot. The brain injury is ignored, and I think that shows through those two videos that those accounts show how easily the brain injury is missed.
Thank you.
Following on from that, as Nick's question, Steph, Tracy has put a question in this chat saying, I know you have got good services, but do you feel let down by services around you? And what do you think you feel is missing for individuals with brain injury? So if you could have a magic wand, what would there be?
Can I just say, it surprised me, and I recently discovered, or possibly rediscovered, that you can't get referred to the brain injury rehabilitation service unless you've got a GP and an address. So I think that's right, isn't it, Steph?
Yeah, they're making changes in that now. Changes are being afoot now in the homelessness assessment support team who are working with us, with the research group and with the brain injury rehabilitation team, so that we can start going out to, or so the services can start going out to, and those places where homeless people congregate, and can start drawing them into the services where that's possible. The services might be designed differently for them because they don't have a stable home environment, and quite often that means they don't have a support network, which is absolutely crucial all too often. So services are, things are going afoot to try and make things better, but they're not happening quick enough. I would say if I had a magic wand, I would say the services should do more to pay more attention to groups like our research group, and should pay more attention to co-producing things in a way that does put those people with lived experience central to investigations, in the way that I've been been able to do, and some of my colleagues have been able to do with Social Work England, I might say.
Thanks for the plug there, Steph. A really interesting thing in the chat from Philippa Wilson. So Philippa's previously worked in homelessness services, and with the number of people living with an acquired brain injury is significant. The long-term impact of a brain injury is often overlooked in any assessment. With housing, health, Department of Work and Pensions, local authorities, people are often referred to a drug and alcohol service due to the interpretation of their presentation without a full understanding of a person's health needs. And I feel that resonates a little bit. Is that right? Would you agree with that, Steph or Jenny?
I think I've heard that people very often in support services work in silos, and when you've got people in the situation of the people that we're presenting to you today, these people have got such complex needs that it's impossible to direct towards one service. There need to be people there who have got an appreciation, variety of different problems, the drug and alcohol, the homelessness, the people who may have been in prison or even in the services. There's lots of people that need to bring it all together.
Absolutely. Got a really nice question here from Stephanie. So Stephanie's asking, what advice could you give to an NQSW, a newly qualified social worker, in how to engage with people with brain injuries who disengage from services and refuse support? So how can they be that one social worker that triggered something in you, Steph?
Yeah, well, I guess they've got to be, it requires some really strong personal characteristics, I guess, with the support of an organisation who allows those characteristics to come through. And they are sort of built around tolerance and respect for somebody who's presenting very difficult, in a very difficult way. I mean, when you see a person behaving what we might consider dangerously or challenging, it's often the case, and we found this in the research, that they feel more challenged by us than we do of them. So I think tolerance and respect, and I think also getting genned up on the use of some of the tools that are available, the screening tools that are available for brain injury services, and learning where you can link up with organisations in your area. And if you find that difficult, get in touch with us. Contact that email address that comes on the bottom of the slide at the end, and get in touch with us. Yeah, if you can't find something.
Well, that's a great invitation, and we will put your contact details in the chat, Steph, and I know you're incredibly open to any conversations with people and supporting people, and so well worth getting in touch with Steph if you do want a bit more information. Any other questions for Steph and Jenny? And I'd be interested to ask you both about, homelessness and COVID has been a big issue. So how has the government's strategy embraced the sort of brain injury element to that, or has it not? Has it been just a broad sweep? Have you seen any differences in terms of the government response to homelessness because of COVID?
Well, there was the project that was everybody in, wasn't there, that the government put forward. So they did find accommodation for some of the homeless people in hotels. I was in centre of Sheffield on Monday, and I'm afraid the homeless are back there on the streets now.
Yeah. So you feel that there's just, it's not been sustained?
That's right. I don't know how much effort or intention there was to house these people, having managed to put a roof over their heads in the initial stages of COVID. how much input there was then to try and maintain that. I'm sure that the situation that they were in the hotels was certainly far from ideal, but could have been a sort of turning point maybe where there could have been extra input to try and maintain some sort of accommodation, although I'm sure everybody had so much pressure on them that there were many other calls on people's time.
Or strategy, some sort of strategy to help
Yeah.
them, you know, continue, not just homeless, but to address those needs, what are causing them to be homeless, to address their specific needs. And one thing I'd like to mention to the group before we finish is, in my story, I talked about, because it's not just, you know, not all the people who are homeless are brain injured, eh? And in my story, I was very lucky because that social worker stood her ground and wasn't moving until I went with her. I don't know how long she would have stayed there, but she stayed there and went away, and that was great. And you know, I guess I'm a, you know, I positively engaged with services, and you know, I don't say everything turned out honky dory, but heyo, you know, I'm doing what I do now. But I wonder, what was the cost of no intervention for the chap who was my friend, the Somali guy who was the boy soldier and went on to murder people? Hey, I mean, he was homeless. His services were, his needs were unmet. Perhaps that were a political thing, and perhaps cleaning up the streets, the homeless people, and putting them in the hotels was a political thing. You know, just cleaning up things, and sometimes things are ignored and put away. Yeah, I'm losing my thread a bit.
You're doing well, Steph, but you know, and I think it does link with you know, some of the other sessions that we've had, and about the impact of sort of, you know, the overlap of so many things that are happening in our communities, and very, you know, very complex sometimes. But yeah, Philip has put quite a big input in there. Great in the chat. So we have a few minutes left before we finish. Is there anything anybody else just wants to say to Steph or Jenny? And I think you know, it has been a really exceptionally interesting and moving session, and I think something that we need to share more and educate and inform.
And I think it's not just about the substantive content of the material, the brain injury and homeless people that we've been talking about. It's about the methodology, but it's about the way we've gone about doing it. Eh? You know, persistent social ills and maladies are going to continue to persist as they have done for centuries. If we continue to use the old traditional ways of researching and asking questions and measuring things, it's about time. In order, we use the people themselves in order to look under the stones, to show where to look for the answers, what's going on. So it's about the methodology, and that's why I'm asking people, you know, if they're interested, not just in brain injury and homelessness, so I want that, of course, but if you're interested in doing this sort of research with any service user group, I guess, give us a call.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steph, and thanks, Jenny. And I suppose the bit for me, being social worker, it's about that sort of, you know, the health needs vis-a-vis social needs, and actually it's all important. But your step into sort of, you know, a new life and better outcomes was the social work interaction, and you know, sometimes we can lose sight of how important our profession is in that journey. So thank you both very much for your commitment, enduring, you know, interest in this and sharing it at Social Work Week.
Thank you very much for inviting us to come, and I've greatly enjoyed preparing and presenting today. It's not something that I get to do very much these days.
Oh,
it is something that I've enjoyed doing. Thank you.
You were brilliant, Jenny, although we couldn't see you, which is a
Well,
great shame.
you saw me on the video anyway.
We did. We didn't see your hair combed though. So really, it's just to wrap up now. you know, these events wouldn't be, you know, as good as they are without the people attending them. So thank you all for your time. They will be available afterwards, after the social work week finishes, as a resource. And Steph and Jenny have very kindly sent their details. Matthew put in the feedback form, the little survey. We really would like you to fill that in. That'd be great, just for Steph and Jenny, but also for us, so that we know we're on the right track. Yeah, tweet, Twitter, do what you do, spread the word, and thank you all for attending, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.